Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. President Volodymyr Zelensky has welcomed the European Union's decision to make Ukraine an official candidate for membership as an historic moment and a victory for his embattled nation. Neighbouring Moldova has also been given candidate status. Katya Adler is the BBC's Europe editor.
For President Zelensky, he's been pushing for this moment he calls historic for a very long time because it allows him to turn around to Russia and say, look, we Ukraine, we belong in Europe, we belong in the West, not in your Russian sphere of influence. So he wanted this symbolism tonight. Tomorrow, of course, he'll be reminding the West that he also really needs that military and economic aid. For Russia's perspective, it's actually hardening its stance on Ukraine joining the EU. And why? Well, it says Brussels is taking a much more active role these days in defence.
Gun rights activists in the United States have won a major victory at the Supreme Court. In a landmark ruling, 6 of the country's top judges have struck down a century-old law that had limited the right of people in New York to carry concealed weapons in public. They ruled the legislation violated the right to bear arms. Neda Tawfik is in New York.
The Conservative Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the majority, declared that the constitutional right to bear arms also protects an individual's right to carry guns outside the home in public. The nation's most powerful gun lobby, the National Rifle Association, was quick to declare what it called victory. But officials in New York are outraged and vowed to work on new legislation to protect residents from surging gun violence. This ruling goes beyond New York, affecting a handful of Democratic states with similar laws.
The Taliban authorities have called off the search for survivors in Paktika, the Afghan province worst hit by a devastating earthquake thought to have killed more than 1,000 people. Many of the victims were reported to be children. It had been feared that many people were still trapped in the rubble of their homes in remote villages following the quake in the early hours of Wednesday. Scientists have discovered the world's biggest bacterium living in the mangrove swamps of Guadeloupe in the French Caribbean. Called Thiomargarita magnifica, the single-celled organism is the size of a human eyelash. It's about 5,000 times bigger than normal bacteria. Jonathan Amos is our science correspondent.
The organism's one and only cell is clearly visible to the human eye, and that makes it bigger than many more complex life forms with multiple cells. This bacterium has attracted attention because of the way it packs its DNA into small compartments inside itself, something you'd normally see in animals and plants. It just needs a hard surface to hang on to. Depressingly, researchers say, that's often a piece of discarded plastic.
World News from the BBC. Police in London have charged a Nigerian senator and his wife with trying to bring a child into the UK to harvest their organs. Ike Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice Nwaneke have appeared in court and been remanded in custody. A 15-year-old boy had been taken into care. They said the investigation was launched after detectives were alerted last month to potential offences under modern slavery legislation. Mr Ekweremadu has been an elected senator in the Abuja-based parliament since 2003. Police in Ecuador have been using tear gas to stop indigenous protesters from entering the parliament building in Quito. Television footage showed protesters trying to advance under the cover of makeshift shields. Large parts of Ecuador have been paralysed by 11 days of unrest over fuel prices and the cost of living. Regulators in the United States have ordered the e-cigarettes manufacturer Juul to remove its products from the American market. Juul says it would appeal against the ban by the Food and Drug Administration. Michelle Fleury reports.
The US Food and Drug Administration has ordered the company to pull its Juul device and 4 types of Juul pods, following a 2-year review of the brand regarding concerns that it may have helped fuel vaping's popularity among underage users. The agency concluded that Juul had failed to prove their products met legal standards, saying they had provided insufficient and conflicting data, especially about potentially harmful chemicals leaching from Juul pods.
Residents of the Scottish island of Skye have rallied to the rescue after flight delays and missing luggage threatened to sabotage an American couple's wedding. Amanda and Paul Rysel only arrived on the Isle of Skye the night before their long-planned nuptials. They had the rings but no dress for the bride-to-be. An emergency social media appeal saw islanders stump up a suitable replacement dress plus a kilt for the groom. BBC News.